So that's why I wanted to talk about this today, because if your wisdom is guiding you to take a certain action, to invest in yourself, if it really feels light, it feels like a yes, it feels inspiring, it's actually because that thing is available for you. And so there are resources that could show up for you that you're just not accessing in the consciousness that you're currently in. But if you feel that lightness, it's because it's available for you. And that's what we see a lot of times when people actually choose beyond their fear and like choose, like, I get to have this before the resources are even there, then the resources end up showing up. So today I really wanted to talk about, like, what are some of those reasons that have you not invest in yourself and not follow your yes, um, and start dissolving those energies, like the fear and shame and the limiting beliefs and the programming that would have you not follow your wisdom, which is leading you to all your heart's desires. So that's why I want to talk about that today, because there's so many reasons for that. Like, it could just be, it could be like you think you literally don't have the money, or maybe you do have it, but you're like, I shouldn't invest in myself. I shouldn't invest that much in myself, or I shouldn't use my savings, or I shouldn't use my credit card, or I should be saving money instead of investing in myself. Like, there's so many ideas around it. There's even ideas about like receiving from another person. Some people think that that's a wrongness because it's not coming from themselves, but like, no one is actually separate from you. So you're essentially rejecting receiving from yourself. Like, for anyone that's watched Breaking Bad, and he, has a cancer diagnosis and then can't afford his treatment. And he has a friend that's willing to pay for his cancer treatment, but he won't accept it because of his own shame and wrongness and judgment and ego. But the thing is, no one is actually separate from you. So essentially, he was rejecting receiving from himself. So that's something that I see a lot. People are just not great receivers. They're not uncomfortable receiving from another person, usually because of shame. And then there's a lot of beliefs about, like, your job is your source, or another person is your source. And so you don't actually realize how sourced you are, and that you're your source, and that your frequency is your source. And so for anyone who's kind of in that boat that literally believes that your job is your source, or that like your income and money is your source, or that another person is your source, like a spouse or a family member, I want you to just remember that if money doesn't actually have any value, which it doesn't, because it's just a debt note that was printed, it's like monopoly money. It doesn't actually have any value than what we give it. So if money doesn't have any value, and if no one is actually separate from you, so this person that is sourcing you, your spouse, your family member, if that person isn't actually separate from you, then how are any of those things your source? If they're not separate from you and money has no real value, how could those things actually be your source? And if your consciousness dictates everything that you see in your life, creates everything that you see in your life, how can anything other than your state of consciousness or your frequency dictate how sourced you are? So literally, your frequency, your state of consciousness is the only thing that dictates how sourced you are. And that will have you maybe be sourced through different channels. One could be a job, one could be a person paying for you. It could be just you have less expenses, people paying for your expenses for you. You could have a lot of different ways that you are sourced that you like never even thought of, and you weren't even able to open up to those possibilities. So that's what I want to talk about today. I want you guys to share where you're tuning in from and what some of those conclusions are that have you guys not fully invest in yourself. Is it just certain beliefs, like you don't deserve it? Or maybe you don't even let yourself percolate in the thought of that. You don't even really invest in yourself, buy things for yourself, like, ever. And when you do that, you don't actually move any of the energy. Like, if I'm sitting here never investing in myself, I'm not really going to feel the fear that's there. It's the second I start to choose beyond it and start to invest in myself and follow my yes and follow my wisdom, that then I'm going to feel everything that's in the way of that. So we're going to talk about that today, how to actually shift your consciousness so you start to see new resources showing up, new ways of sourcing yourself that show up for you that weren't available before. And yeah, another reason I want to talk about this is it has been coming up a lot with my friends. Like, a lot of them have been making the same comments about like what people can or can't afford. And most of my friends are engineers because I also was an engineer, technically still am. And they were making comments like even a household with 2 engineering salaries isn't enough these days to pay for your mortgage or buy like a $1.5 million home. Like pretty much saying that even people that make some of the highest salaries can't have their dream home. And I have this one friend where she's an engineer, her husband's a doctor, and even they have the most limiting beliefs about money that I've ever seen. And it's like, what kind of world do you live in that you think even like the quote highest salaries can't have their dream home? Because that's not a reality that I want to live in. And so when that shows up in your guys' reality too, if that's happening for you guys, because that happens a lot when people come to this work and they start to create shifts within themselves and start to see things differently than they did before in a much higher perspective, they like want to share that with their loved ones, but then they end up trying to like convince their loved ones. But if that's showing up in your reality, like people that are carrying really limiting beliefs about anything, about money, about health, and it's triggering something in you, it actually means there's something in you to clear. So you're not meant to go and convince that person, because it's been showing up in my reality and my friends were saying these things and I wanted to like go and convince them and tell them like, no, abundance is actually your birthright. And if you feel the longing, it's available for you. Like your dream home is already yours. And I felt myself like wanting to convince them, but they're not separate from me. They're a part of me. And especially if they're triggering something in me, that means there's still a part of me that believes that maybe there's still some fears in me and some programming in me to clear. So if that's showing up for you, that's another way for you to actually clear that within yourself and then shift your consciousness and then become even more resourced. So yeah, let's see where you guys are tuning in from and share some of the reasons why you don't follow your yes. Hi, Alicia's mom. Aw, thanks, Cassia. You're so sweet. Aw, you guys are so sweet. I'm so happy to be here with you guys today. Such a perfect topic for me. Yeah, it's coming up a lot lately. Like we're really being invited to dissolve lack consciousness. From Germany, that's so cool. From Spain. Oh, that's so cool. I don't feel so alone knowing others are also going through this. Yeah, this is like a really, really common thing. Nevada, California. Okay, this is so exciting. Okay, so someone from England. This is so cool. Okay, so some things you can do to start shifting your consciousness and seeing different possibilities showing up in your life. There's a few things that you can do, a few things that I did that really had me come to a point where like I kind of know it cellularly now that I'm always taken care of and that abundance is my birthright. But it took me a while to get to this point because there was so much programming and so much fear around money, about like the fact that like I kind of felt like I had to be in this job that I hate and that was just what you have to do to make a living and get through life. Like there were so many beliefs and there was so much programming that it's like wrong to invest in yourself and buy stuff for yourself, that it's like frivolous and you're being selfish and like all this kind of stuff. So there's a lot that I had to clear to get to this point. The good news is though, like even when I just started moving like 2% of this energy, I started to see like things changing right away in my career, in my wealth, in how resourced I was. And then the more and more fear and shame that I've dissolved, the more and more I keep receiving and the more abundance shows up in my life. So you don't have to move through all of your fear and release all of your limiting beliefs to start seeing new possibilities. Because if you even move like 2% of that energy, you come into a higher consciousness. And because your whole reality is a reflection of your state of consciousness, is responding to your state of consciousness, you start to see things immediately when you come into a new consciousness. So you don't have to move all of the energy, even just like 2% of it. So one of the main ways that I did that was I had to welcome all of my fears and all of my doubts and shame around money. So how did I do that is like every time I started to choose to invest in myself or choose beyond the fear, then I would really feel it. Like when I would think about leaving that job that I hated, I'd feel all the fear. And then I would sit and welcome the fear, like using Kim's ABC tool, the instant elevation tool For those of you that don't know what that is, she has a free guided version of it at drkimd.com/IET for instant elevation technique. It's just a really simple, powerful way to move energy, dissolve and transmute energy. So that's how I did it. I would literally just use the ABC tool and sit and welcome that fear. And there were so many layers of it that I had to keep sitting with it, keep sitting with it, keep sitting with it until I could feel that a lot of that fear had moved because I was in more peace. And that's how I got to know cellularly that abundance is your birthright, because the truth can't be threatened. Truth can't be threatened. What's real cannot be threatened. So this is something that we would actually all know if we weren't carrying fear. So like if you're in fear about being taken care of and having everything that you need, and then we dissolve the energy of fear, then you'll no longer be afraid that you're not taken care of. So then you'll just know that you're taken care of. So on some level, you'll just know I'm always sourced. I always have what I need. Abundance is my birthright. You might not have those words to it, but when there's no fear, there's no fear. There's just no fear about money. So all we really need to do is move the fear or the shame or whatever it is that has you not invest in yourself. So that's what I did. So some examples of that would be like, we'll use the Embracing Health example. So people that want that it feels light for them to join Embracing Health, when you start to actually choose it, now everything that says you can't have it, anything in the way of you actually having that will come up. All the fear, all the shame. So if you just like percolated in the thought that I get to have this, and you like go and look at the page, because some people won't even look at the page because they're in so much conclusion, like, I could never have that. I don't have the money, so I'm not even going to look at that. I'm not even going to like let myself look at that, because then I'm going to feel the pain if I can't have it. But you feeling the pain if I can't have it is actually what clears what's in the way of you not having it. So it actually would be really beneficial for you to just like look at the page if that was something that you wanted. Or for example, like this is something I really, really had to clear, and I'm still moving through layers of this, is like, there was all this wrongness about when I buy something for myself. Like it was just taught to me that it's like wrong to buy stuff for yourself, and it's wrong to shop, and it's wrong to like, you know, invest in yourself. And I just was taught like you should be saving more, and, you know, essentially save versus buy something for yourself was what I was taught. So every time I would go to buy something for myself, I would literally need to sit there and convince myself why it's okay that I'm buying this thing. I would just like convince myself like, oh, I'm going to use this all the time. I'm going to like, if I wanted to buy clothing, I would have to sit there and be like, okay, how many things could I actually wear this with? You know, and I would just like sit there and stay in my mind and try to convince myself why it's okay. But all that would do was keep me in my mind so that I felt less fear and shame instead of dropping into my body and actually feeling that. So if anyone else on this call feels that way every time you buy something for yourself, if you actually paused in those moments and took at least like 5 breaths into whatever discomfort is coming up for you when you try to invest in yourself, buy something for yourself, you're going to start to move that energy. So that's one of the main ways you can come into a higher consciousness and start to dissolve these energies that are blocking you from following your yes. So notice that. And that's not just also the discomfort you feel when you go to invest in yourself. It's also the discomfort you feel when someone tries to invest in you. Like someone tries to buy something for you, someone tries to pay for you, someone tries to pay for an expensive dinner for you, buy something for you. Maybe it makes you really uncomfortable with receiving. Most people I know are extremely comfortable with receiving, or even receiving compliments from someone can make people feel really uncomfortable, that they'll just deflect instead of actually dropping into their body in that moment and breathing into the discomfort that shows up, that comes up when you start receiving from another person. So that would be really powerful for you guys to do. And that's what really shifted a lot for me. And then another thing that you can do is to start getting curious and questioning your conclusions and beliefs about why you think that you can't have these things. So that could look like questioning, okay, so anything that feels heavy, first of all, it feels heavy because you're buying into a lie. So notice when something feels heavy and start getting curious and questioning that. So that could look like, what if it isn't actually true that I need to make a certain amount of money to have my dream home? What if I get to have it anyways? What if the reason I even want it is because it's already mine? And you just start asking questions like that. Um, and when you notice you're really in your conclusions and really like, you know, arguing and defending your conclusions, like you don't understand. It's different for me because I'm an immigrant, or it's different for me because I don't have an education. So like I can't make as much money as someone else, or like whatever your conclusions are, I want you to notice, does it feel heavy to even buy into that conclusion? And I want you to just feel like, would I rather be right about this conclusion, or would I rather open up to a higher possibility and a really way more beautiful way of living life that makes me actually want to be on this planet and be embodied instead of just being like a physical being? Like, it makes me actually excited to be on this planet, that I get to access how sourced I am right now and see how sourced I am and live that life. So just start to question your beliefs. Because I had a friend recently who was saying, like, "Oh, it's impossible that two engineers with that salary could have that home. It's not possible." And he kept trying to go on, and I was like, "Do you want to finish that sentence? Because you finishing that sentence is like anchoring in this belief. You could just choose like not to finish that sentence, and you're already like opening up to something higher. But when you finish that sentence and you argue for the limitation, like exactly what Jeremy was saying, I think it was 2 weeks ago on My Body TV when we were talking about wealth consciousness, he was saying when you argue for your limitations, the reward that you get is that you get to keep those limitations. So just notice when you're really bought into your conclusions and get curious and be like, what if this conclusion isn't actually true? And what if life could actually be more fluid than this? And what if I could actually receive even more than this? What if when I follow my joy and my peace and I honor myself, I receive more and everyone benefits? Like just starting to get curious. And when you start to do those two things, you're going to come into a different consciousness, because even getting curious gets you into a higher consciousness than where you were at with your conclusions. You don't even need to like believe what you're saying. You're just getting curious and percolating in a higher frequency. When you start to do those things, you're going to see yourself be sourced in a lot of different ways that you didn't think were possible. So it might be more than just like an old job fades out of your life and a new job comes in that you love, and you're doing what you love and you're receiving an income in a way that's really joyful for you. It could be that. It could also be someone is paying for something for you, someone is supporting you. It could be that you receive money in lots of different ways. And it could also be that expenses actually get taken away from you. That's what happened for me when I really created like a big shift in consciousness when it came to fear and lack. I like started to be sourced in like 5 different ways at once, and ways that I didn't think were possible, like expenses getting taken away from me, paid for me, and also like starting to see things that I thought were like I thought I absolutely have to do this. You absolutely have to pay for these types of things. There's no other way. And starting to realize that even that wasn't true. Like, not to go down a rabbit hole, but I started to learn about how, the tax system's based on voluntary compliance, how all mortgages are actually fraudulent because the home is already paid for. So you just need to discharge the debt. And you could do that in a lot of different ways. You can do that using your birth certificate, which is a bank note. And anyways, I just started to learn about all these things that had me see life in a totally different way. When I released my conclusions about, what are you talking about? Like, everyone has a mortgage. You have to have a mortgage. You have to pay your taxes. You have to do this and that. Like, you actually start to open and see things in a completely different way. And you realize anything that feels heavy, it feels heavy for a reason, because you're buying into a lie, or there's a totally different way that you could be doing that thing. And so then you'll also start to maybe feel that ways that you were being sourced before feel really heavy. So like, let's say a spouse was supporting you, but you actually don't want to be in this relationship anymore, but you're too afraid to leave the relationship because you think your spouse is your source. Or maybe you feel that way about your job. Like, now your job starts to feel really heavy, but you're too afraid to leave your job because you think your job is your source. So then that means there's even more energies to clear. And the most important thing you can do is actually sit and welcome those energies. Because some people will just suppress it because they think there literally isn't anything else available for them. So they won't even let themselves feel how unhappy they are in their job or how unhappy they are in their relationship. But you actually feeling that is what creates something different. So yeah, those are two things that would be really, really helpful for you guys. I'm just going to read some of the questions here. Cassie, my mom is a huge source for me, and I have resistance/guilt to receive from her. I accept her generosity, but deep down feel uneasy to receive from my mom. But here it is, me being resourced. Yes. So that is a really great example of like, okay, I'm going to welcome the discomfort in my body about receiving from another person. Like, why does it make you feel uncomfortable? Do you feel like she has less when she gives to you? Do you really feel like she's separate from you? Like, this is an opportunity to move through separation consciousness as well as lack consciousness for yourself and the whole planet. But also start to notice too, like, is it a manipulative form of receiving? Because that would feel really heavy if someone's like trying to give to you so that you don't leave them type thing. But I don't think that's what's happening with you and your mom. So I know, Cassia, you're super willing to feel what comes up in your body around that. Mom, I know I feel I should not take from others because I do not want to burden them. But you are right, we are one. So if someone is giving, we should take it with thank you and blessings. Yes. I was a very bad receiver. Now I am learning slowly and say often, it is easy for me to receive. Thank you. Guys, this is my mom, and I just want to give a shout out to my mom because she has moved through so much fear around money, like so much fear around money that she's like quit her jobs that she hated because on some level she knows she's sourced and she's going to be taken care of. Like, that is massive. That's not something she was able to access like 2-3 years ago. So like, if she can do it, everyone can do it. It is possible. It is true that when you move through fear, you're just not in fear anymore. And you know, on some level, you're taken care of. So you're willing to follow your guidance. If your guidance is saying, like, quit my job, even if you don't know what's next. If your guidance is telling you to do it, your wisdom wouldn't guide you to do something to then leave you hanging and be like, oh, you're totally screwed, you know? And even like with the Embracing Health program example, again, if it actually resonated with you, life wouldn't just be like, okay, here's this thing that could really help you heal, but sorry, you can't have it. You can't afford it. You're just screwed. Like, that's not how life works. Life is happening for you. And it wouldn't be showing up and it wouldn't feel light and it wouldn't resonate with you unless it was available for you and here for you. And you had everything you needed and the resources you needed to have that and choose that. I recently decided that I want an ultimate fulfillment on all levels, and it's been unbelievably crazy ever since. That's going to happen when you start to choose beyond it. Everything that doesn't align is going to come up. That is so awesome, JP, that you're doing that. Cost per use, so much guilt when shopping. I know, me too. And like, it can be so easy in those moments because it's a really subtle energy that you could just like not drop into your body when that happens because you're like, oh, I'm sure in a week, I won't even feel this discomfort anymore. But it would be so powerful if you paused and dropped into your body. And even if you're still doing that mind thing that's like convincing yourself why it's okay, don't worry about it. As long as you're at least dropping into your body, taking at least 5 breaths into that discomfort, you're moving some of that energy. I'm having more awareness when lack is showing up. Homeless people appear everywhere. I also have a fear that someone will have to die for me to receive something that would change my life. Okay, that's a really great comment because if lack is showing up in your life, like if you're seeing a lot of homeless people or if you're seeing a lot of people in your life that really truly believe you are in lack, which by the way is only a delusion, like it's never actually true that you or another person could be in lack. It's just your consciousness can create it so that it looks like you're in lack or looks like the world is in lack because you're actually that powerful. So if like you see a lot of homeless people or a lot of things that you think like, well, that person's not sourced. So clearly abundance isn't our birthright because that person's not sourced. If you see stuff like that in your reality, it means you still have things to clear. Otherwise, that wouldn't show up in your reality. life is trying to show you where you're still carrying beliefs of lack. That's all that means. If we all cleared all of our energy about lack, all of our fear and shame about lack, we wouldn't see anyone being homeless. We wouldn't see anything like that. We would see everyone um, living their truth, which is abundance is your birthright. So the fact that we are still seeing it means there's still some energy for us to clear. That's all that really means. Just going through the comments. So helpful choosing to not finish a sentence so limiting beliefs don't get anchored. Yes, exactly. It's so true. Yes, my dream home is mine. Yeah, it's true. I had to move through a lot of fears about that because I thought, like, there was a while back where I was in fear that like the financial system's going to collapse and then I'm going to lose all my money and that I won't be able to buy my dream home. So I was like, oh my God, should I just buy it now? But like, I don't have any clarity right now on where I want to live. So I was like, I don't want to buy my dream home now. And I was in so much fear around it. And then Kim really reminded me that my dream home is already mine. And it's not that I have to meet certain requirements and work really hard and then I get to have this thing. It is literally already mine. If my heart desires it, it's mine. It's available for me. Cassie, I relate. My family has been such a huge help to me while I heal from chronic illness. Yeah, and welcome any discomfort that comes up with receiving from another person. Hi, Alisha's mom. Aw, you guys are so sweet. Okay, I have so much fear coming up about money. I've been in tears and lots of anger lately because I want my kids to go to a private school here, but I can't find rides for them because I'm at work. I want to buy a house, but I have a conclusion that we can't afford it. I want to create a coaching business to create more time and money, but it doesn't seem to be working. I'm so frustrated and afraid. I've done so much work, but it doesn't seem like anything I'm doing is working. That is probably, when you said I've done so much work, here's the thing. If that's still showing up in your life, if lack is still showing up in your life, all that means is there is more to clear within yourself. That's blocking what's available for you. That's all that means. It doesn't mean you get to have it. It doesn't mean life needs to be hard or frustrating. And in your case, there might be certain conclusions too. Like you might have conclusions that my kids need to go to a private school. I don't know if it actually is your wisdom saying this is where they need to go. Because if it is your wisdom saying this is going to create the most for them, then the resources will show up and align. So if you just start to get curious, like, first of all, is this actually in my kids' highest and best interest? I'm open to it being this way or that way, whatever is in their highest and best interest. Get curious around every single conclusion that you wrote in there. And then let's say it is in their highest and best interest. So now your next conclusion is, but I don't know how to work out rides. So then use the curiosity tool again. Like, what if this could be so easy for them to go to this school and everything to be fluid and have the rides be figured out for me or be really fluid for me to drive them? What if this could be really easy? And you're just getting curious to step into new possibilities, a new frequency where new possibilities exist. And, your ideas about I can't afford it. Is it actually true that I can't afford anything? I can't afford the things that I want. Is that actually true? Just getting curious is going to start to open up something new for you. And you meeting these energies within yourself is actually what creates that coaching business. Because for you to be able to invite someone else into something higher, you would need to be the embodiment of that. Because you can really only invite someone into where you're at. So you're actually being invited to move through exactly what you're going through right now so that your coaching business can get created. Because your coaching business is going to be powerful because you're the embodiment of what you're inviting them into. It's not manipulative for sure. I just feel uncomfortable because I am a grown woman who receives help from her mom. Yeah, so then there's shame and guilt. So you're just being invited to move through shame and guilt. And the more you clear that, you'll probably see different ways of being resourced as well. Yeah, guilt seems to be a really, really big one for people. Is that why my social security benefits quit because source has something better for me? Yes, yes. Yeah, that could have been a really great way to source yourself before, but if it's not showing up anymore, it means there are new channels available for you to be sourced. They're actually much more fluid, where it doesn't actually, it's not conditional on another person and I have to meet certain requirements and then I get to receive it. That's what that means. I'm on a health journey. Money is tight. Savings are very limited. It stops me investing in myself at the moment. Should I not worry about it at all? It's not about I should not worry about it. It's there's actually fear in your body about it. So it's I'm going to welcome the fear that's here. And then when the fear moves, you just won't be worried about it. You won't have to force yourself to not worry about it. When there's no fear, there's just no fear. There is no worry. You opened my eyes that separation is tied in here. I kept looking at scarcity. Mhm. Yep. No one is actually separate from you. I pushed my comfort levels with money this month. A few messes showed up, but I got to move loads of energy as a result. Yes, that's so, so great. And that was actually happening for me too. Like again, I keep being invited to move through more and more layers of fear around this. And recently, I was investing so much more in myself than I normally do. Like, there were certain practitioners I was working with that totally resonated with me. So I was like booking a lot of sessions with them, and I was investing thousands of dollars in myself every month. And there, that brought up something in me like, oh my God, I shouldn't be investing this much money in myself. But I actually chose to do it anyways, even though there was fear, and ever since I did that, I can't even tell you how much more resourced I am and the kind of things that are showing up for me in my life and getting paid for me. Like it's actually so beautiful. That's what happens when you choose beyond your fear, even when the fear is there. And if you're not ready to do that, that's okay. Just keep welcoming the fear until you are ready to like move a little bit more forward in that direction. Yes, lack can't really exist in the mind of God, which we are a part of. Yes, exactly. Great reminder to ask, is it in my highest and best interest? I'm open to whatever is best. Yes. Okay, so there's a lot of guilt is a common thing here, right? We're taught like it's wrong to receive from another person, but that person isn't separate from us. It's just a way that life is trying to source us. So really welcome that guilt. Don't just try to convince yourself like it's okay. Like really go into that guilt. Holly, I can really feel the fear and anger as you're talking about this topic. I'm bawling my eyes out. This is really hitting on something. Okay, that definitely means something if it's triggering you. So if all you did was sit after this episode is over with what's coming up in your body, you're going to move so much energy. Because I know, Holly, I've been reading your posts in the Mind Body community. I've worked with you privately. I know there's a lot of fear around money. And so if you literally just set like half an hour after this to sit with this, you could move so much of this right now. How to deal with traumatic experiences about finances received from my father. Traumatic experiences about finances received from my father. So anything that has been like passed down from you, if that's what you mean, from your father, ancestral, past life, who knows where it came from, you're carrying it in the now. So as long as you welcome what's coming up in your body now, you can move that energy. It doesn't actually matter where it came from. And it doesn't actually matter what your conclusion or belief is because it's just an energy. Those thoughts are what goes along with the energy. So make your most important thing that you do is I meet this energy that's coming up in my body. How do you move negative energy around debt? I have fear, shame, and powerlessness around student loans. I'm scared of how to pay for my daughter's education in a few years. I do not want debt. Okay, so what it's bringing up for you, like you said, is fear, shame, and powerlessness. So are you willing to sit with that and welcome that for as long as it takes? Because there could be a lot of it. There could be a lot of layers. Like for me, I had to sit with a lot of my fear and shame for like months and months before I actually got to the point where I didn't feel fear anymore about that particular thing. So I essentially moved that layer. And then as the years have gone on, I've been invited to move through deeper and deeper layers. So how willing are you to sit with all the energies that you just listed until they start to move and you start to feel more peace and there isn't fear? Because that's what creates the debt getting cleared and income showing up for your daughter's education or a way that your daughter could be sourced in a totally different way. Oh, okay, Holly, that was you. Got it. Got it. Simon, the best way to move through fear in my what I use all the time is Kim's instant elevation tool that I talked about earlier, or tapping, or like if you have a mind body tool that really resonates with you. But essentially, as long as you're dropping in and feeling it and welcoming it instead of resisting it, your body already knows how to transmute that fear. Can see the pattern in me about not trusting that there is help or that I can receive. So much in my past has seemed to solidify that in my body and heart. I am ready to welcome it and allow it. Oh, that's so great, Heidi. I spent all the money from the estate money from my mom. I just have this thing where I spend so much money so fast. I feel guilty. How do I deal with the guilt of spending and that habit? So two things is welcoming the guilt and also not making yourself wrong that you're doing that thing that you spend money really fast. Because if you make yourself wrong for it, if you shame yourself for it, then now you're in the frequency of shame where it takes effort to like not do that. But if you love yourself, even though you're doing that, you come into the frequency of love, where now it's actually very natural for you to do loving and nurturing things for yourself. So that would have you release any like bad habits or things that aren't serving you. So love yourself anyways that you're spending really fast. Because you could do it with zero awareness or with judgment, and then nothing would actually shift. You could do it with more awareness and more self-forgiveness and more love, and then things will shift. What is the subtle feeling that you should push through the fear and do it? How can you tell if it's a message from your higher self? So your wisdom or your higher self or your true self guiding you to do something, it just like feels light to like move in that direction, or it feels heavy to do a particular thing. When it's your mind or programming, it has a different essence. It's like convincing. It's like I gotta defend, I gotta convince, I gotta explain. Um, it's like, and you actually can't really tell when there's fear in the way because fear feels really heavy. So you'd actually need to move through more fear to be able to tell if it's your wisdom or not. But you'll feel they have a very different essence. Your wisdom's just like, ooh, it'd be light to go in this direction. Oh, it feels heavy to go in that direction. And there's no need to explain or defend. It feels really clear. And if it doesn't feel clear, that means there's probably more fear to dissolve before you can sense your clarity. So happy I tuned in today. Aw, that's so great. So glad you guys are here. Aw, I love you guys. Okay. So yeah, I'm just gonna leave you guys with, joy creates wealth. What's the reason that you even want more wealth is because you want to feel more peace and you want to feel more joy. So always remember the journey matches the destination. So go straight to the outcome of what you're wanting, which means in any way that you feel comfortable right now, start to choose more peace and more joy for yourself, which means if buying this really cute dress for myself brings me joy, I'm going to do it. And then I'm going to welcome any discomfort that comes up in my body after, because me buying that dress that brings me joy just brought me more into the frequency of joy, which obviously is going to bring me more wealth because in my body, wealth equals joy and peace. So, yeah, be willing to invest in yourself. And the second you start to like choose that, you'll feel everything you're feeling. Welcome that. Get curious. Notice where you're not a good receiver. Yeah, that will be really, really helpful for you guys. And remember that it's just a delusion that you could ever be in lack. If lack is showing up in your life, it's just a delusion. It's just trying to show you that you're carrying certain energies, programs, beliefs that aren't serving you. That's it. It's not actually true that you're in lack and can't have the things that you want and your heart's desires. It is not true. Always remember that.